Dolby Atmos has changed the way we experience sound today. But how do we actually mix in Atmos? In this video, I'm breaking down the very simple basics: what Atmos is, how to use beds and objects, and where to position dialogue, music, and sound effects to create that cinematic experience. It's time to make Dolby Atmos simple, fun, yet very creative. Let's dive in. Hey friends, my name's Joel D. Catalan. I am an Emmy-nominated sound re-recording mixer and industry coach. And today I'm diving into Dolby Atmos mixing and giving you a very simple, straightforward guide on how I approach this very fun, immersive format. So whether you're just starting out or you're looking to refine your particular workflow, I've got you covered in today's video. So let's jump right into it. So let's cover very simple things. First, what is Dolby Atmos? Well, Dolby Atmos takes sound beyond the traditional surround sound mixing. Instead of just the left, center, right, the left surround, right surround, and the LFE, Atmos gives you a full 3D space, right? That includes height. So this means sound can move literally above you, around you, through the audience, creating this very immersive experience. So if you've ever watched a movie and you've felt completely just pulled into the scene, chances are you probably were watching a Dolby Atmos cinema mix, because that plays a huge part in it. So first thing you have to understand is very, very simple. We have beds and we have objects. And let's talk really quickly just what those are, right? Beds are your foundation. This is like your static audio channels of dialogue, your music, backgrounds. They're the main things, right? Those stay in, somewhat fixed position, really, okay? Now, objects are the individual sounds that can move freely within the Atmos space. They can literally go wherever. So think of the beds as sort of like your sonic anchor. And the objects are the elements that are going to bring your mix to life, like footsteps overhead, or having a helicopter panning, all the way across the room. Right now, you can really get the audience involved there, get real immersive. So this is my Dolby Atmos mix template. Well, rather, this is just a template that I've used on a project before. And we're going to dive into this, and I'm just going to show you some real simple, plain things. And I'd like to start by just showing you what my beds look like, and then tell you a couple things about where I like to place these things. So in particular, this particular template happens to be my effects template. And I just had this up for a second to show you, but let me just move this. Okay. And you'll see with my sound effects, I have a lot of sound effects here. Okay. So we have effects, we have P effects, we have B effects, C, D, bunch of food groups of effects. And then down here, I have my objects. Okay. But let's talk about beds first. So my sound effects are gonna be let me just grab my bed here. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go. So these are my beds right here. You can see there's the effects bed, there's the BG bed, and the Foley bed. And these are 7-1 beds, okay? So all these sound effects are feeding these particular beds. And let me go ahead, and I have a signal generator here, and I don't want to blow our ears out. So let's make sure we have, there we go. Okay, so you'll see that I'm sending signal out effects 1, okay, effects mono 1. And you'll see there's my panner, okay? Now, in the traditional mixing format, all right, in a 5-1 format, you have the left, you have the center, the right, and then you don't have the sides here. You have the left surround and the right surround, and then the LFE. In Dolby Atmos, we have the left, the center, the right. Then we have, in this particular bed, okay, we have the left side, we have the right side, and then we have the left rear, the right rear, and then you also have your LFE. And then when it comes to actually using your objects, that's what this panner does. In this panner, now let me just move that. You see that we have incorporated height. Okay, you see that? Now you also have, there we go. You have speakers on the top, okay? And in a theatrical, you'll have an array of speakers that go all the way across here, okay? Have you ever been in a AMC Dolby Cinema Atmos? You'll see speakers all the way on the top. Home Atmos, though, is basically two monitors, one top, front, rear, top, front, and then rear, front, and on both sides, right? On left and then right, here and here. Okay, but the beds, okay, let's go back to the beds. The beds are going to be your foundation. This is the best way I can explain beds, is just by showing you, okay? So let's go to a background track. I'm going to show you. Let me just mute this really quickly. Okay, let's go to backgrounds. So in these background tracks, I got a lot of background tracks, but you'll see it's the same thing. Food groups, backgrounds, mono backgrounds here, stereo backgrounds, all in the A, the B background, same thing, mono and stereo. But if we go here to, let's just grab this stereo BG track, and I'm going to go ahead and throw the signal generator is already on there. Great. Let's make sure we're muted. Okay, we're muted. Okay, so here we go. Here's the panner, okay? So I want you to think of this. Right now I have an audio signal. Let's just pretend that this signal right now is like, a bed of distant traffic or something, okay? And right now it's panned left and right. I've linked these. If we look over here at the actual bed, you'll see that the bed says it's coming out just the left and right speaker, just like it's saying here. And if I bring up the Dolby Atmos renderer, okay, now if you've looked at this, it looks like a cinema, right? It looks like a theater, like you have theater seating, okay? So the way that this right now is set up with the beds, it's set up for the audio to come out to the left and right. So you're going to see it in the left and right speakers. Now, as far as the beds go, no, actually, correction, you're not going to see that right now because we're not using objects. But when it comes to the sound, think of this representation as it just coming out the left and right. As you start to move, and I'm going to show you over here with you see the meters there. As you start to move the signal, you start to now hit the left and the right sides here. You see that? There's no information in the rear. If I pull it all the way in the back there, now you're going to have it just coming, if you look at the theater, it's going to be just kind of back here, right? Oops. Woo, just back here, okay? As opposed to the sides or the front, left, and the right. Now, if we take this signal, this wind, and we come here to the side and we bring it in a little bit, and maybe we take it a little bit in the back, now you'll see based on the meter that you're going to have information kind of like this says right here in this panel. You're going to have some here hitting on the sides, as you see there, and some in the rear. Picture-wise, it would be something like, you're like right there, and you're getting information, some on the sides and some in the rears there, okay? So this would be any kind of background. The bed is kind of just something that's sitting there. We can't really move those sounds to individual channels like over our head or anything like that. So music and backgrounds, they're going to play pretty static. So let's just pretend this panel right here was a music track, right? Let's say you had your music going and you wanted to, let's say you had a spread, right? And you're like, oh, I got, you can go hard left and right. Really, though, if you have you're using a music up mixer, right? You're going to have a real nice spread, right? You're going to have some in the left and the right, maybe some of the surrounds. And then what the objects do, is you're going to be able to put some music up in the top, okay? And that's particularly like, let's see if we can see. Well, we're not going to be able to see it there because we don't have the objects. But as far as the beds go, talking about it as the glue, right? It's just going to be set. So let's set, actually, let's do this because I think it's visually is better to see. Let's pretend if we have, like, let's say this sound right here is some kind of traffic, and we have another, we have a couple things here. I'll show you here. Let's say on this track, what we want to do is we want to take this signal and just go all the way in the back. That's it. So now you'll see we have a nice coverage, right, of sound. And then let's say this particular track, we just want it just on the side, right, on the sides there. So you'll see that we have some good sound covered now. We have sound up, oops, I keep messing up there. We have sound up here, okay? You see the panners right there? And then we have, let's grab this one. Okay, you see the pan there. We have some information just in the actual rears. And then, if we grab this guy, and you'll see, and just on the side. So imagine these were your background tracks, some winds or some traffics, right? You can actually have this foundational background of ambient sounds, okay? Now, like I said, with music, it kind of applies as well. You can kind of just have it sitting there. Then we talk about objects. Objects is where we have a lot of fun, okay? And particularly, I think the easiest way to understand objects is by looking at sound effects. So let's take a look. Let me just mute these. Okay. I think it's the easiest to describe. So if we look at a sound effect, okay, and let's go, oops, let's go like this. Let's grab our bed. Okay. You'll see this particular sound effect right now is, oops, it's panned weird. Check it out. It's panned back here. You can see, right? You can see in the meter here. See, as I move around, it moves to the different speakers, right? So left, center, right. So think of this as if it was just a car and you panned it hard left, or if it was in the center, it was in the right. Now with the beds, you could put it just in the side, right, the right side, or the rear right speakers, okay? Now where we get to have a lot of fun is when we talk about objects. So let's go to our object tracks. Now you'll see that these are set up all the way over here under objects in this folder tracks right here. Do you see here? So these are going to, they're routed, and that's another video for another time, but they're routed to object tracks. So if I go to this particular, oh, I already got it. Let's make sure that the objects are not, I don't want to blow your ears out here. Let's see. Hopefully they're muted. Let's take a look. Sorry about that, friend. Yeah, okay, they're muted. Good. Let's go like this. Okay, so now this is where we're going to be able to look at a render. Okay, so now we're looking at a different panner. Do you see how now it looks a little different? Let me call up the renderer so you can see here. Okay, so now you're going to see, you see that now? You see how that's popped up there in the Dolby Atmos renderer? Now you're going to see this object to follow the panner. It's going to move left, it's going to move right, okay? I'm going to be able to go all the way back here. I'm going to go to the left. Now what we have fun is the height. You see how I can go up and down with this multi-channel panner now? This is really cool. So you could see now we've introduced height here. Do you see that? Do you see how now we can go up and down? And you could see as, let's put it like this. Let's see if you can see this. This represents a theater, as you could see. But you could see that this now, do you see that? Now that goes all the way up and all the way down. And if we go like this, you could see that anything I'm moving now is everything on top of the theater. Do you see this? You see that? So I can literally take a sound of a bird, and let's say it's over here, and you're watching the movie, right? The movie's playing, and it's an awesome movie right here. and you take it and the bird's up at the top and you want to fly it all the way across the room, and you can, because it's going to be using those speakers. Now, I remember I was working on a movie called My Spy, The Eternal City, and we had this really cool scene where we had these helicopters pass over, and it's so much fun because those are the elements that you want to explore with Dolby Atmos. Helicopters coming over, you know, it's so cool. Or I remember I was working on this series called Heels. Check it out. It's on I think it's on Netflix now. But we had a squirrel up in the attic, and one of the main characters was like hearing this squirrel go all the way across up in the attic. And so you know, you can have fun with these sounds, and it's really just limited to your creativity. Now, it's really important to understand that, you know, we're trying to help tell the story with sound, right? And the reason Dolby Atmos really matters is very simple, right? It really goes back to storytelling, right? Atmos allows us to create these soundscapes that pull the audience in even deeper. They put them really like right in there. So, I mean, you've seen it, right? If you've gone to the theater and you've seen some of these big blockbusters, you feel it, right? You feel like you're in there. And that's our goal. Our goal as post-production sound professionals should be to try to help tell the story with this immersive format, right? We want our audience to be surrounded by sound, but we never want to pull them out of the story, right? So let's look now at some other things we would do. Now, of course, we talked about the very practical use of objects, right? Birds flying over, helicopters, maybe you're on the ground floor and someone's walking up top or something, or you're in a cave and you have drips, right? This is a really cool thing to have drips up here. Now, you could do it a couple ways. You have the mono objects, or you could have stereo objects. And let's put that. Let me put a signal generator. Okay. And here we go. And you'll see here, you'll see the same thing. You're going to see that this stereo track, whatever kind of sound you have, you can put it, you can link it, you can move it together like this, and you'll see that it also follows the pattern here. Let's bring up the renderer. Oops, let's go like this. Okay, you'll see that it goes, and I don't know what's going on with it's not linking. Okay, but you'll see that the sounds are moving like that as well. So, and you know, you could use the renderer if you want, but I like to just, you know, when I'm mixing, I know by seeing this right here, you know, I'll have one view here, maybe another view there, and I can be like going like, right? And I can get some height, right? I can lower it a little bit. And this, like, for instance, what I would do with an effects or maybe like a background object, right? Because I also have objects for backgrounds, is maybe I'm putting like some drips up in a cave. Maybe we're in a cave and I want those drips to kind of have some height. And they're going to look like, oh, maybe something like that. And the space might be a little bit back here, right? And let's just show you that, right? Maybe back here. But you know, you can unlink these, right? And you can have all sorts of fun, right? You can put them like this, and then you can do some movement. You can write some automation so that now this right channel is going like this and it's moving, but then this is also going in the opposite. So you can have a ton of fun with automation. Now, again, backgrounds, static stuff. So if we're outside, we're going to want to kind of have like our winds and our insects, our established ambiences be in our beds. Okay, those are going to be in our beds. The objects are where we're going to have fun. We're going to pick and choose what we want to hear up in the ceiling. You know, we want some movement. You know, we're going to do that. You know, maybe you have a scene where, you know, there are trees that are high. Maybe from the point of view of the main character, they're looking up and you want to put some, leaves up in the top ceiling, you can do that. Now, the one thing that you definitely want to be careful of is when you're mixing, and I don't have, this template's not set up for dialogue and music, but when you have dialogue, right, you want to make sure that your dialogue is always coming out of the center. Okay, you want to anchor your audience with a dialogue. Okay, dialogue traditionally when we're mixing in 5.1 is always going to go out the center anyways, right? With the very, very, very rare exceptions of, it may be being panned off to the right if the story tells us. But the one thing we want to avoid is having our audience be going left and right, ping-ponging left and right. So when we look at the renderer, right, we're not going to want to have anything moving, left, right, dialogue-wise. It's going to stay here in the center. We want it to be there. That's where our main dialogue is always going to come out of. The same thing's going to apply with Foley, right? Foley is going to be coming out there, but it's going to be doing a lot of left and right. There's going to be some, and let's just take a look if I have Foley here. Let's go like this. Okay, we do. Good. I want to make sure I'm muted so I'm not, I got to mute that because we do not want signal. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. Oh, these are inactive. Oh, it's okay. Let's go like this. I'll make that active. Okay. Now, Foley, let's go. I'll just put it here. Oop. Okay. So Foley is going to do the same thing. We're going to have, you see it's coming up right up the center. Because Foley wants to really stay with our main characters, with our dialogue, we're going to keep it with our people, right? Our actors. They're either going to walk left, right. We could have them coming off to the side here, walking toward the back, right? You might even have them walking all the way back there. Now, very rarely are you going to have Foley up in the Atmos speakers, but that's the great thing. If we need to put footsteps above us, right, we could do that. And so really, Atmos gives us the ability to be very creative when it comes to storytelling. And again, you never want to take your audience member out of the story, because the whole purpose of Dolby Atmos and why it matters so much is to enhance the storytelling. So I know this has kind of been a very, very simple view, and there's nothing really too technical about it. I just really wanted to give you the very basics about what we do when we mix sound for film and TV. Everybody does it differently. You can automate the objects, and the beds. You can have simple dedicated tracks like I do, and I'll show you real quickly. Like my tracks, I have actual object tracks here, right there. So if I want things that are going to be used for the objects to be moved all around the theater, I'm going to use them in here. I'm going to have them cut, or if they're cut up here, I'm going to take that audio and then I'm just going to move it down to the object tracks. So have fun with it. I know it can be daunting, but don't let it be. I'll never forget being terrified of mixing Dolby Atmos because I didn't know it. I'm like, I just, I don't know how to use it. I don't know what to do. And then the time came and I was going to be put on a show, a Netflix show, and it had to be Dolby Atmos. And all I did was ask. I asked questions, people who knew how to use it and what they were doing. So I was able to then face my fears and just sit down and just toy around and tinkering. For me, I'm a very visual person. So having something like this right here, the panner, and understanding that my objects, I can literally, when I'm in an object, I can put the sound anywhere I want, and then I can bring height, like just have fun, if you're up there, use it. But again, I think those who began Dolby Atmos learned early on that it can get very gimmicky, and you don't want to get too gimmicky. You want to use it in a way like I said, that it supports your filmmaker's story, what they're trying to communicate, their vision. So I hope you have learned something, some very simple concepts when it comes to mixing sound effects, backgrounds, where you want to keep your dialogue and Foley, things like that. And sort of the difference between what beds are, statics, having, sound just coming on the sides here or in the rears and the fronts, and then objects. Really, that's where the fun is, right? That's where we can put our sounds, our helicopters, our birds, our seagulls overhead, or the squirrels up in the ceiling that are going back and forth like we did in Heels. But I hope this is giving you a solid starting point for your own mixing when it comes to Dolby Atmos. So if you've found this helpful, friend, I ask one thing of you: hit that subscribe button for more tips, and when we can be available for you when a new video pops, right? And if you're ready to take your post-production sound career to the next level, friend, apply to work one-on-one with me. All the information you'll need to know will be found in the description below. And let's make 2025 your year to thrive. Thanks again for checking out this video, friend. I will catch you in one of my other videos over here on the side or in next week's episode.